Thursday morning. That's the beauty of a long weekend week is we're like, oh, it's Thursday already. That's so good. Let's see, I'm going to change the way that I look at us here. Awesome. I believe we're live on Facebook. We're here on Zoom. We'll go ahead and broadcast, doing all the techie things. I'm so glad that we're here today, Katelyn. I know that it's busy, like speed of light, so much going on. We were just, you guys that are just joining us, we were just talking about pivoting, like everybody's had to pivot in one way or another this time of our history, and how it used to be that Zoom was a little bit more glitchy and a little more wonky, but how much they've upped their game in this, that we're able to, like, it's going on live on Facebook easier now. People are having breakout rooms. We have reactions. So thumbs up to Zoom for being able to pivot and give us everything we need to kind of stay connected, right? At least a little bit. So thumbs up to Zoom. And I have to say, you guys know me, I am not a negative person. So I'm going to tell you a story that's going to sound negative, but then I'm going to give you a positive at the end of this story. In my digital marketing tips of the week, I often give some background. So my background here is today. The positive part and the advice that I'm going to give you is, when something seems weird, when it just doesn't make sense, and you've talked with experts who kind of know, and they're like, wow, that just doesn't make sense. Let's dive deeper. And then you dive deeper and it still doesn't make sense in a techie kind of way. Stay at it. And here's the background to this. A week and a half ago, I called Weebly. I'm making a Weebly website for curbside pickup for, you guys know, my favorite caterer, B&M Catering out of Pawtucket, is going to do curbside catering. So anybody in that area, like if you're within a half hour, 40 minutes of Pawtucket, check them out tomorrow when we go live, because you can order like their most amazing cornbread. This is not a commercial for B&M, but I'm just getting hungry. But so we're making a website for them so people can order online. And the best alternative looked like, the best platform looked like putting a Weebly site up. And that is Weebly and Square work together. There was some integration. So we got everything set up and it looked great. We got it set up on Square to integrate with Weebly. Everything was going great. We said, all right, let's just use our credit cards and put in some orders and make sure everything looks right. And we kept getting a note that said verify now. And we're like, well, that's weird. We already did verify. We went and tried to verify it, and I was getting a loop. When you clicked verify, it went over to Square and hopped me right back to the dashboard. So you call customer service and they're like, oh, let's take a look. 45 minutes later, they go, this is an engineering issue. We know about it and it's going to be fixed in the next 24 to 48 hours. That was a week ago Monday. So on Thursday, I call again, still not fixed. They're like, oh, let's take another look at it. They take another look at it and they go, oh, right, that's an engineering issue. Our engineers are going to look at it. You can expect an email by early next week. I'm like, oh, man, it was Memorial Day weekend. We wanted to get orders up. These are people's livelihoods. Tuesday, I called first thing in the morning, same thing. It's an engineering thing. So yesterday, Wednesday? Yesterday, I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. I see what's happening. It's a little glitch. It's a programming thing. It's the interface between Weebly and Square. And this is what I mean. Like, if you're not techie, what I'm saying might be confusing, but talk to somebody who's techie so they can go, well, that's strange. It shouldn't behave that way. I got on the phone yesterday at 4 o'clock. 45 minutes later, I got to speak to somebody at Weebly who then put me on hold for another half hour. When I spoke to that person, I explained to Veronica, I'm not getting off the phone till this is resolved. There's just something weird about this. And she said, no, it looks like it's in engineering. I said, no, hun, this isn't it. Like somebody, like, you know, Katelyn, you know, like when you're on something sticky, you're trying to figure something out and you're trying to figure out and you're like, I just can't. I have to walk away and I'll come back to it later. And you might not. I think there were like all these engineers that got this ticket and went, oh, I can fix that, and then tried to fix it and then didn't. Veronica stuck with me, and we went over it and over it and over again. And then all it turned out to be was that the email address, we had one was info@clambake, and then the other one was the fresh lobster at. that because we weren't using the same email addresses, even though I had verified, it wasn't recognizing the accounts. That was such a simple fix. Now think about that. Like, you guys, I know everybody's business is so important, but this was a week and a half that people went without making income because somebody didn't want to figure something out. So I guess my point is, stick with it, figure it out, have somebody figure it out. If you have to step away, but put somebody else on it that you trust. I wish I could give you more advice, but maybe if you are having trouble with a Weebly site right now. Also, they're not active on their Twitter. So I couldn't even reach out to, like, anytime I have anything wrong with Constant Contact, they are on it like in 10 minutes. All right, so that was kind of complainy, but the positive side of that is it got fixed. Persistence paid off, and don't take no for an answer. All right, so if you're joining us on Facebook, let us know. I want to just make sure that we are live because I don't see us yet. It says we're live on Facebook. Let us know that you're here. Yes. Good morning, Rita. Good morning, Nilu. Yay, Jen's here. I want to introduce you to Katelyn Patton, and she is the owner of the High Performance Office. I'm going to read you her official bio. Oh, I love this. She's a chaos recovery strategist. Katelyn is an organizational systems expert who designs systems that eliminate chaos, increase profits in your business. She will help you create an all-around high-performance office specifically for you and your business. She helped digitize an entire human resources department, led the relocation of a tile showroom and office, and she helps entrepreneurs make sense of everything they have going on. Getting organized is one thing, she says. Staying organized is quite another. She'll partner with you and your team to design, implement, document systems required to maintain top performance. Today, we're going to talk about how to find your documents in a flash, like how to organize your digital documents so you can find them when you need them, which is so good. When I asked Katelyn what her superpower is, she said her superpower is helping make your business run without you. I'm so glad you're here, Clayton. I know that there are people that are listening now or are going to listen later. You guys, thumbs up if you've ever spent way too much time looking for that particular document, and that would be me. Oh, Joanne Crowell is on here too, so she is well versed in this as well. Katelyn, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. We met a while ago. You guys have heard me talk about Polka Dot Powerhouse, and I think we must have been on some international call and ended up chatting, and I was like, oh yeah, that was a long time ago too. And I'm like, yep, people need to know about this stuff. So tell me, where do you even get started? Like, there's so many options.
So there are a lot of options, a lot of directions you can go. And the first thing I want to let you know is that it doesn't have to be overwhelming. So when you are, like you said, we all get stuck in that we download a lot of freebies, or we get, documentation that comes with a course or a program that we're a part of. And we want to be able to go back and find it without having to search forever and scroll endlessly, right? So the first place that I always recommend you start is to come up with some folders. And we don't want to do like endless numbers of folders, and you want some subfolders, but what you don't want is this really long tree basically of folders where you go into this folder and then there's a subfolder and a subfolder and a subfolder and a subfolder, because ultimately that's just going to make it that much harder and more time consuming to find those things. So when you start with, for instance, for what I have an education folder, and that's where I put things that are freebies that I download, things that come with my courses or programs that I'm a part of. And within that folder, I have subfolders based on the course, based on the topic. So I have like social media one. I have a writing one or a copywriting one, those kinds of things. You want to keep it fairly simple and not go too granular.
So I'm going to back up for just a second. When you say create folders, do you do it right on your computer, or do you use something like Google Drive or Dropbox?
So you can do it both places. I always recommend that you, at the very least, have a cloud-based one. I personally use Google Drive. A lot of people use Dropbox, whichever one you prefer. They're pretty equal in how they work, so there's not necessarily one better than the other, just whichever one works best for you.
Awesome. Okay, so you make your folders, and that's where you put your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a personal question to ask you, because
Yes.
this happens to me. I download all the freebies,
Mm-hmm.
and do you like actually go back and read them?
I try to, yes. I don't always, no. I do. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. We think it sounds great, but then finding the time to go back and look at them is not always top priority.
Yeah, I do sometimes. I'm like, oh, wait, I think I downloaded something like that if it's going to help me explain something to a client.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we make our folders. What's next?
Yep. So then the next step is to come up with a naming structure. And the reason we do this is so that you can actually use the search bar. Because when you download a document, and you can get any number of things. It can either be very specific and tell you exactly what it is, or it can be a bunch of mumbo jumbo numbers, letters, and symbols. And if it is numbers, letters, and symbols, you will never be able to hit the search bar and find it ever again. You will have to find it via scrolling forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you come up with a naming structure, it doesn't have to be anything super fancy. It can be something like title of the document underscore topic, or author underscore topic underscore title of the document. So it really just depends on, again, how does your brain work? There is not a one size fits all when it comes to documenting and organizing your documents. It's when you are going to look for something, how do you think first? Do you think, I know I have a workbook on that? Then in your naming structure, you want to include the format of that document. If you think, I just need something about X topic, then make sure you include the topic. If you don't really care about what the document's actually called, then don't include it in the naming of it. It really just depends on how your brain works, so that, again, it's all about efficiency. So if you don't need 5 different levels of naming on this, then just keep it super simple.
Okay, so you make it sound super simple. And you guys, if you're listening, pop in some of your own questions here. And if you're listening to the replay, just do #replay, and Katelyn and I will kind of watch the conversation later too and try to hop in to answer. So you make it sound easy, and in theory it is, but
Yeah.
where do people get hung up?
So people tend to get hung up in going back and doing it. So because like it feels very overwhelming. And so what I always tell people to do is do it for 10 or 15 minutes at a time. There's no rule that says you need to make this your top priority project to get it all taken care of all at once, because that's incredibly tedious. And even in the past, I have done this for clients, and I didn't even sit there and do it endlessly all day long. I would work on it for a little bit, step away, work on something else, come back to it again. So that's where you can control that overwhelm and really eliminate the overwhelm by just planning into your calendar once or twice a day, a 10 to 15 minute block where you go in and you just handle what you can handle. You update, you change the names on, a small handful of documents, you put them in the proper folders, and you go on to do whatever else it is that you need to do.
I would think too that even just what you're just saying, right? 15 minutes a day, doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't have to do all of it. So I have 2 things. One, I'm going to park over here. This one here is that I would imagine just the idea of putting the thought into everything you just said, the naming structure, the folders, that now as you go forward, it doesn't have to be something you catch up on. It's as soon
Yeah.
as you download it, rename it, put it into the appropriate folder.
Yeah, you can start this with the next thing you download after watching this video. And then going forward, you're preventing your project from getting any bigger. So if you really don't have that 10 to 15 minutes right now, then just going forward, the next document that you download, use your naming structure and go ahead and save it into that folder that it belongs in.
You know, when you and I first talked about this as a topic for today, I completely forgot that this was one of my first digital jobs. Gosh, it must have been 18 years ago or so. I was working with a nonprofit had called me in, and this is exactly what they did. They had all of their, so when it was 2 people in the organization, it was fine. They just had a documents folder. But then when it became 5 people and there were like 5 different events going on throughout the year, and then there were grants being written and all of that, and all of their documents were just in documents. They had no folders, and it was 5 years worth of documents in documents.
Yep.
So that was exactly what we did. We made 5 main, I forgot all about this. We made 5 main folders, right? Like fundraising, volunteers, events, whatever it was. And then we made the subfolders under there.
Yep.
And the hardest part, now here's something, I remember this about that project, is that when somebody would work on a flyer, let's say, and then they would put the flyer into the events folder, then they would create another one. Instead of like resaving that one, they would have another one, flyer version 2, flyer version 3. And so nobody ever knew which one was the actual flyer that they were using. So I think that it's different when you have a team versus most of the people that I have in our audience are like solopreneurs. So maybe that's not as much of an issue. And to your point, make it so that you yourself understand what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, you downloaded these documents for a reason. And so you need to be able to find them when you're ready for them without having to spend, 10 minutes just to find the document. Yeah. So it's a much better use of your time when you can use that search bar at the top and put it to good use and find your document in a matter of just a few seconds because of that naming structure.
Yeah. So Rita says she's constantly creating graphics for social media, and she'd love to know what you would recommend for organizing and then deciding what to keep and what to delete.
So with social media graphics, it depends on, are you doing it for your own or are you doing this for other clients? Because if you're doing it for clients, then you probably want to keep more of them. But if you're doing it for yourself, once you've used them, unless they're promotional, testimonials, those kinds of things, you probably don't need to keep them.
Oh, interesting. Well, I know that Rita's doing it. She runs a Facebook group and has a website platform for the group. So I guess it would be too, I mean, she probably uses Canva. You can let us know, Rita. She probably uses Canva like I do. Some things I'll delete right away. And if I'm going to delete them right away, I'm putting them on my desktop because I know I want to clear my desktop off. At least every other day or so. But if I want to keep it for whatever reason, but if I know it's already in Canva, I'll just kind of keep it in Canva.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see if anyone else. So Danny says it's a great topic. I just did a search for these exact answers this week. And so she's enjoying your talk.
Well, good. I'm glad. Happy to help.
Yeah, Rita uses Canva as well. Yeah, I've always struggled with that too, Rita, and I finally let it go. I finally was just like, I can just recreate it in a half a second on Canva if I need to. Or
and with images and things like that, there's kind of that fear of what happens if I do need it down the road.
Yes.
But especially with easy tools like Canva, which A, stores it like you said, so you don't keep your own personal because it's in Canva. And B, it makes it super simple to just pop back in and recreate it.
So when you work with, let's say, when you work with, more of the solo professionals versus the team. And so we talked about organizing the folders and what to keep and what not to keep, naming conventions. What are the other struggles that you find people have?
It kind of goes in with the time management piece where and a prioritization. So when you are, by doing these projects like this, you are paying yourself more time later on. So when you take the few seconds to go ahead and rename that download that you just downloaded, rename that document, then you are saving yourself at least 5 to 10 minutes later when you actually need that document. So by naming it now, by taking the time, which as you're doing it, as you just download a document, you rename it, usually you click download, it pops up the save as, you type in whatever the topic _ title of the document, hit save, and now it's searchable. So now when you actually need that document, you can use that search bar versus having just hit download, you click save for whatever they named it, and now it's 2, 3, 4 days later and you need to get that document and you're spending 5 to 10 minutes trying to remember where it is, what it was called, what it might have been called, all of those things. So you're really paying yourself in time later on down the road.
Yeah. Just a quick little detail, and I would love to hear your thinking on this. I like the way that you say title _. I use a convention. I'll go, like, if I'm putting in something today, I'll probably use 2020-0528. Then I use a hyphen, and then I will document it because sometimes I search by dates, depending on my calendar. Tell me why you say _ between the words. Why do you not have spaces between your words?
So I do between, like when I'm typing individual words, I do an _ to make it easier to read for me. Gotcha. So that way it's separate. To me, it's a separation of like I said, topic, and then I know, okay, that's the topic, _ instead of, because it makes it more obvious to me. And then with the name, I do spaces between the words.
Awesome. That is super helpful too.
No. And again, that just comes down to, that's how my brain works so that I can read it easier, just like you use your dates, and because you know that that's what you are going to search for when you're looking for things.
Correct. Yep, I do that on my emails, everything. I go by the date because I keep a running journal of what I'm doing every day. And so I can go back to that and I match it up with my digital calendar. So Rita asked how to organize in Canva. And you know what? I can go on live in the Rise Above Noise group later and kind of show you how I organize in Canva. But basically, I know that, like, for instance, the Rise Together private group, I have all my colors and my templates set up the way that I want them. So I have it organized as Rise Together Facebook posts. And then I can go in there and I can change or upload anything you want. I mean, they let you have so many in there. Each one, you can also name each of those images if you want to as well. And that also, you can do a search for that within that particular file. That might help. I'll go through a few others like that too. And I do change when I'm downloading from Canva. If I'm downloading one image, I will change the name and I will use the hyphens in the Canva images that I download into my download folder. After that, I will either put it into the appropriate client folder if I'm doing it for a client, or a group folder if I'm doing it for a group, or if I don't need it anymore, I'll delete it because I know that I can find it in Canva.
Yep. The more you can name things, the easier it is.
Yes. Yeah, and like you said, name it in a way that makes sense to you. Good morning, Kathy Ripley Green. I'm so glad that you're here. See if there's any other questions. Otherwise, oh gosh, this went by so fast. So tell me about, like, you're the high performance office. Mm-hmm. Tell me about how you work with people and how people might find out more about you, or, you know, if you have any special offers.
So I am the high performance office both on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. And my main focus with my clients is to help them with the systems piece. So this is a part of your organization's system overall. And so I really work with my clients to get their systems in place and organized so that they're not just organized, but they are optimized for top efficiency. And I do have a free download that goes with this topic that kind of gives the details that I talked about. And it also includes 5 steps to reaching inbox zero in your email. So if that is of interest to you, it is thehighperformanceoffice.com/digital organization.
I'm going to put that in the chat. I know a lot of people, I think about inbox zero, but man, it just seems overwhelming.
And again, that's another one that you just take those time chunks. It's very similar to organizing your digital files. There's folders and subfolders. You set up a handful of email filters, and that again match based on what you need and how you think. And then you just spend a few minutes at a time and start sorting those emails. Or a lot of times I find with emails specifically, there's a lot you can delete.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's what's happened is I've stopped deleting.
Yep.
So everything's in there. Oh, we should just do a webinar all on that topic. thehighperformanceoffice.com/digital organization.
Yep.
It's in there. Awesome sauce. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that people are like inspired to get, so here's another confession to make. I used to do this kind of work, or like creating a batch of images or creating a bunch of posts while I was watching the baseball games. Like it was just the perfect background noise to sit. If you're going to sit for 2 hours anyway, you might as well be doing something.
Yep.
And one of the things I've lost in this wonky time of ours is that like sitting down, watching a game and getting that like repetitive kind of work out of the way. Because
this is a great thing if you're doing like you want to binge some Netflix or whatever it is, then you can sit down with your computer, because this is really very mindless work. You don't have to focus really hard on it, and you just sit down with your laptop and get to work while you're enjoying your favorite show.
Yes. Yeah, if you can shut your brain off like that too.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. I don't think we have any other questions. I'm going to just double check our chat here. Doesn't show me the whole thing. Stay with me for just a second. Let me see if I can find the whole thing. Funny, it cuts off the I think we'll leave it there. If anyone else has questions, we'll both be checking the chats throughout the day and throughout the week. Tag me or tag Katelyn if you have any questions, #replay, so that we'll know that you're watching it as a replay. And thanks so much for being here, Katelyn.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yes, you too.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.